What is going on, Tentacle? My name is Billy the Squid, and today I am announcing that I will be starting as the Wretch class for my first run through of Elden Ring. And I know what you all are thinking, Billy, what the hell is going on? Yesterday, you made a video saying that you don't recommend the Wretch starting class for your first playthrough of Elden Ring. How are you going to go back and forth like this? You're more flip-floppy than a politician. Explain yourself, and I will. Well, I will. If you aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, the video will be up there, but I did go into a pretty decent breakdown of why I don't believe the Wretch is a good starter class for somebody that is inexperienced with the game or a brand new player. There are a lot of brand new players that are going to be coming into Elden Ring, and I wanted to make that video first before I make this one, just so that all the information is out there about the Wretch class and what it actually stands for. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend going and watching that and then coming back to this one to get my insight on why, even despite all of that, I am going into the Wretch starting Elden Ring. And I stated it in that video, and I'll state it in this video as well. You can pick whatever starter class you want. Even if you are a brand new player, if the Wretch is just calling out for you, answer the call of the Wretch. Go ahead and pick it and see how you like it. You can always choose a new character and move on from there. So the reason that I've decided to start the Wretch comes in a few different flavors, and we'll get the difficulty out of the way first. I myself am not a self-identified Giga Chad gamer, but I do enjoy the difficulty that these games provide. And there is nothing more difficult as far as the starting of the game goes than starting with the Wretch class. Just starting with no armor and only a single club. That is, by definition, the hardest start that you can have in these games. And I want that experience for myself. I'm also coming from the perspective of somebody who has played all of these Souls games before, so I know I'll be able to push through that difficulty that the game throws at me, and I will actually enjoy that difficulty that the game throws at me. And with that heightened difficulty also comes a heightened sense of adventure. When you come up from nothing, every single thing that you get, whether it be another weapon, a set of armor, or a new spell, everything is valuable. Whereas a class that starts off with a full set of armor and a base weapon might overlook something that they pick up just because they've got something equal to or better and they're not willing to switch it out. With this kind of a start, everything is valuable, everything is to be considered, and everything is worth going after. There is nothing better for a heightened sense of discovery and that just call to adventure feeling than starting from nothing and working yourself up from there. And not only does starting as the Wretch give you the excuse to go looking for all these items, the Wretch also gives you the means to be better able to experiment with whatever build variety you want in your first playthrough. With every new discovery, you are more likely to be able to spec into those items, those weapons, those spells, and get use out of them. See how they feel on you, see what meshes with your playstyle the best. Because although this is very close to the Souls games, every game and every weapon has its own feel. And even if you're not necessarily a strength player, maybe you would find a strength weapon that you like. Maybe you'll find a dexterity weapon that you like. And for how I like to go through these games in a first playthrough, the Wretch makes the most sense for me. For me personally, what I want out of my first experience with Elden Ring is variety. And the Wretch just gives me that. I am able to go in and whatever weapons I pick up, whatever armor I am able to equip, I have the ability to do so. I can go for minimum stat allocations for weapons and spells. That way I can have full range to do what I want with those spells. Yes, I might not be doing the most ideal damage with those weapons and spells because I'm not pushing points into the stat that they scale with the best, but I'm at least able to use those weapons and get a feel for them before I make any commitments one way or the other. And in my first playthrough, I very rarely ever make commitments. If I find a weapon that has an extremely high dexterity scaling or an extremely high strength scaling or one of the magic stats, I am more than willing to leave that in the back of my mind. And maybe eventually, if stat relocation is somewhere convenient in the game, specking into, like, full send into one of those stats just to see how that weapon feels and performs. But I want to be able to be versatile first and foremost, especially in my first playthrough. Not to mention that starting at level 1, all of those early game levels are going to be a bit cheaper than they would be if you started in any of the other classes. And the final reason that I'm going to start the Wretch is because my first playthrough of these games is never centered around PvP. I do very much enjoy the PvP scene of these games, but my first character isn't going to be a PvP character. Most likely, it is just going to be a PvE character that I take all the way through the new game cycle and just have a good time with. If I want to spec and min-max in PvP, I can pick a different build for that. But for my first playthrough, and for PvE content in general, the Wretch just makes sense. So if this playstyle that I've just talked about sounds appealing to you, then I highly recommend giving the Wretch a try for your first playthrough. You only get one first playthrough, and if that playthrough you want to be the most versatile and the most from the ground up earned playthrough that it can be, the only choice that really makes sense is the Wretch. And I know this may contradict or sound like it's contradicting what I said in yesterday's video, but I promise you it's not. That video came from the context of wanting to value the 2-hour refund period that new players to the series may be having. This could be a make or break moment for a lot of players, and I just wanted to make sure that they weren't being put into a situation where they chose the Wretch uninformed. But, like I said, if this kind of playthrough and you want full versatility of the game and of your build, then make the Wretch a part of your first playthrough diet. But above all else, and at the very end of the day, pick whatever starter class feels the most fun for you. I am picking the Wretch based off of the experience that I want to achieve. But if the Samurai or the Prisoner just are calling your name, don't let anybody tell you that you're a bitch for not picking the Wretch. Okay? And with that being said, Tenant Crew, much love.